Hi everybody, this is Kefren, your favorite French Canadian. Today I'm going to show you how to boost your FPS in Hunt Showdown 1896. They just changed for a brand new engine, so we're going to start by optimizing Windows and your NVIDIA parameter, and after that we will go inside of the game. So now for Windows, we're going to start by writing settings, and we're going to go to the settings of Windows 11. We're gonna start by gaming over there. So the first one is game bar. This one I really recommend to deactivate it. It's causing issue and also you're losing some FPS with it. Except if you have a Ryzen CPU, the 7900X3D or the 7950X3D. They're using the game bar to prioritize your CCD when you're playing video games. So super important to use that if you have those processors. If you have any other processor, just deactivate it. After that, we're going to go to graphic. We're going to change default graphic setting over there. Make sure that your hardware accelerated GPU scheduling is at on. Super important to do that. We're going to go to gaming again, capture, make sure that everything is deactivated like this. So you want to save all your resources. And the last one is game mode. Now game mode honestly is really good. Back then with Windows 10, it was a bit sketchy and a lot of like stuttering issue, but now you really need to using it to make sure that all your resources are prioritizing your video games. Another thing that I recommend, we're going to go to system, is your power. Back then, we were recommending to use the best performance, but now, honestly, just use balance. You will have better boost clock, longer boost clock. I did a couple of benchmark, balance versus best performance, and honestly, I'm getting better result with balance, so super important to do that. Another thing I want to mention is some recommendations. So make sure that your XMP profile is activated if you have it on your BIOS. Super important. Make sure that you download the latest chipset driver for your CPU if you have an AMD or Intel. Also, make sure that you update your BIOS to make sure that you have all the latest update from your CPU or your motherboard provider. Make sure that you have your Windows update up to date. And the last one is also make sure that you have the latest driver from your GPU. So if you have an NVIDIA card, Radeon, or Intel, super important. They always push new update and they optimize a lot of stuff in it. So now let's go to the NVIDIA app. The first thing that I want to recommend, I'm not a huge fan, honestly, of the overlay. So NVIDIA overlay, I really recommend to deactivate this one. Sometimes it's causing issue like stuttering, you're losing some FPS with it, so I really recommend to deactivate it. Also, we're gonna go to the control panel. I'm gonna show you some optimization that you can do. So we're gonna go to the manage 3D setting first. So the first thing that you should definitely activate it is your low latency mode. Make sure this one is at on. Another thing that I recommend is your power management mode. This one, pretty much the same thing than the one from Windows. Make sure that you're using normal. Don't use the maximum performance. I'm getting also better boost clock, more FPS with it. And the last one is your shader cache size. By default, your cache will be driver default like this, and normally it's 4 gig. I recommend to start with 10 if you don't have a lot of space on your computer, and if you have a lot of space, go with 100 gig. Honestly, it's a game changer for your cache size. You're gonna struggle less with stuttering, and also that your game need to recompile and stuff like that. If you install a lot of game, this one can be very good for you. Now let's go to change resolution. The last one, really important to make sure that first of all that you're selecting the monitor, that first of all you're using the native resolution of your monitor, and also super important to have a proper refresh rate over there. By default, sometimes when you just change your monitor, it will be at 60 Hz. So depending on the type of monitor that you buy, 144, 240, make sure that you're selecting this one. This option also, you can change it on Windows or your Radeon driver if you have a Radeon card, so no problem with that. The last one is your G-Sync. If you want to activate your G-Sync, really important to select the monitor. It needs to be compatible and you will enable over there. I'm not using G-Sync me. I always unlock my FPS because I want the lowest input lag. But if you don't like those steering line, definitely activate your G-Sync over there. So now let's go back to the game. So just before going inside of the game, I want to show you in the DLSS swapper. Right now, Hunt Showdown is using the DLSS version 2.3.1. It's a very old version. I'm really surprised with this. I tried to swap it with the latest version, but it seems it doesn't work. You don't see the slider with quality balance, etc. And even if you applied it, it just goes back to off, so it doesn't work right now, the DLSS swap. So this is pretty much it. I hope they're gonna update it. So now let's go inside of the game. So now inside of the game, so we're gonna start by the resolution. Really important to play native over there. You don't want to lower your resolution. The game will looks very blurry, so make sure that you're playing native. Window mode, also make sure that you're playing full screen. You will have less input lag, less stuttering, so super important to do that. Don't use VSync, it will add input lag. You don't want to do that in this game. You can use other solution like G-Sync or FreeSync from Radeon to synchronize your GPU with your monitor if you have too much tearing. And the other one is your FPS. Me, I always unlock my FPS in any like FPS game. You want the lowest input lag, but again, it can cause also issue if you have like bad thermals. You're playing on the, I don't know, on a laptop with a 60 Hz monitor. Don't go too crazy with that. Sometimes you will just unlock your FPS, and after a couple of like 10-20 minutes of gameplay, you will start stuttering because you have thermal issue. So just look at your thermals if you're doing that. Depth of field, I recommend deactivated. Motion blur, deactivated. In this guide, I will concentrate the guide on how to boost your FPS and also how to have like the best visibility to see other hunters. So for sure, you don't want to use the depth of field and the motion blur when you're playing the game. Gamma, I like to play at 1.05. It's a little bit better when you're playing in dark maps. So you're not getting any FPS. It's a question of preference over there. HDR, for sure, I'm not using it because, you know, a lot of distraction when you're playing with an HDR in a PvP FPS game. Video RAM usage target, I'm going with 90, so you're gonna lock 10% on your GPU. So it really depends. Again, if you're playing with a very old GPU with 2 or 3 gig of VRAM, those one will be important. So just by default, it will be at 80. Just go at 90. Now you have the super resolution in this game, so you have DLSS and FSR. I did a lot of testing, honestly. I tried to swap even the DLSS, like I said, and it doesn't work. So my recommendation is don't play in balance, performance, and ultra performance. Too blurry, and pretty much the same thing with FSR. So really important, go with quality if you want to use it. Honestly, right now I'm testing it. I'm very surprised with the DLSS in this game because I was getting like 18 to 20% boost. Normally when I use DLSS and quality in video games, I'm getting 10 to 12% boost in my FPS. So it's pretty huge, honestly. So if you need FPS, definitely use DLSS. If you have an RTX card, use DLSS over FSR. If you don't have an RTX card, so you have a Radeon or maybe an old NVIDIA card, pretty much the same thing. Don't use balance, performance, and ultra performance. Go with quality. You're gonna gain a nice 12% with AMD FSR. It's a bit blurry compared to DLSS, but it's doing the job. You're gonna get a nice boost in your FPS. And it's not like they have like a good anti-aliasing in the game, so even with the anti-aliasing, the game for me looks a little bit blurry. I would like to they add sharpness filter. I don't see any sharpness filter with the DLSS. Normally you have one, so for sure it's gonna help if they decide to add it in the future. After that, we're gonna go to the graphics section, so a lot of different options. So the first one is object quality. I recommend to go with medium. You're gonna see a little bit better, and you're gonna not lose too much FPS with this one. So definitely medium. So for the texture quality over there, it really depends on the amount of VRAM that you have. So in my case, it's not an issue. But for an example, if you have 3 gig of VRAM, I recommend to go with something like medium 4X. Just follow what you're changing over there, and you should be fine. Anyway, you lock your 10% over there, so you can't really like maxed out your VRAM. So definitely make sure that you're good with this. Lighting quality, global illumination, I recommend medium and low. You're gonna gain a nice 8% boost in your FPS, and you will see a lot better to see enemies, honestly. Shadow quality, shadow filtering, low. You can expect this one is pretty huge, 15% boost. So if you're struggling right now, just start with shadow. It's gonna help a lot. Effect quality, this one also I recommend to put the lowest. You're gonna see, first of all, you're gonna stabilize your FPS and the game will look less blurry. So really important. Same thing with post-processing quality. Go with low with this one. You can expect a nice 4% boost. Particle quality also is huge in this game. I did some testing with my 2070 and at Ultra I was tanking my FPS when I was seeing a particle in this game. So honestly, go with low. It will stabilize a lot your FPS and a lot less drop. Water quality, this one's a bit tricky, honestly. If you just want performance, definitely go with low, but you can run medium and high without too much issue if you want a nice visual for your water. And it's not that bad when you're playing. It's not distracting and stuff. And you're gonna, if I compare low to like high, when you're using water, you're gonna lose like 3 to 4%. So question of preference again, but me, I'm going with low. Fog quality, I recommend to go with low. This one is huge. If I compare ultra to low, you can expect a nice 10% boost, and honestly, it will be good for your visibility. You will see better Hunter, so definitely this one, go with low. View distance ratio, this one I'm not too sure right now. I'm using medium. I feel I'm seeing better. I'm continue to testing it, and honestly, it's 2% difference in your FPS, so it depends where you are in your guide. If you're not struggling with your FPS, definitely try medium or even high. I'm trying to decide what's gonna be my main. Definitely don't go ultra or very high, but medium seems to be fine right now, and I feel like I'm seeing better the enemy. But view distance light and view distance vegetation, those one at low, they're tanking a lot your FPS. If you compare ultra to low for both, you can expect 11% boost, so it's pretty huge over there. GPU tessellation, you can activate it, honestly, except if you have like an old Radeon card like from 9 years ago, you're gonna struggle with this one. But the majority of modern card right now, you're not gonna lose any FPS with this one. For audio, they have something new called Spatial. So it's a spatial audio like the Dolby Atmos and Windows Sonic. I tried back then to play at Dolby Atmos at Hunt Showdown, and I didn't like it. I like the the stereo, the normal stereo. But right now, I feel like Spatial is a little bit better for the verticality. So right now, I recommend to using it. Maybe I'm gonna update it in my comment section. But I did a couple of games, and I kind of like the way they did the Spatial. So, and they also recommend to using it. So the configuration right now, I have headphones, my Sennheiser HD 490, and with the Spatial, and it seems to be fine for me. So maybe comment in the YouTube section if you want to add something about it. So this is pretty much it with my guide. The guys, if you have any questions, just comment in the YouTube section. Post me your rigs, CPU, GPU, and RAM. I will try to help you the best that I can. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Peace.